Well, hi everybody. Thanks for joining us on Logistics Executive TV. We're here on a very chilly night in Sydney. I'm here with an extremely special guest, a young woman that I've known for around about 20 years, and she is a very, very interesting person. She's had a journey that we want to talk about tonight as part of the Women in Leadership series. She's an educator. She is an entrepreneur, she's an advocate, she's an ambassador, and she is an all-round incredibly warm person. And tonight I'd like to welcome Abang Othow.
Thank you so much, Kim, and what a wonderful introduction that is. I can't believe just after 20 years we finally get to meet again.
We do.
So this is a wonderful opportunity, and I'm really delighted to share snippets of my journey with your lovely audience.
Fantastic, and it's thanks for coming out on such a chilly night. Thanks to Uber for getting you here. Here we are, and we're down here on Macquarie Street, central Sydney, and it's part of our tour in Sydney here. So Abang, we often ask our guests to talk about their early upbringing. You're a qualified teacher, you're a double degree master, you're a major figure here in Sydney in terms of diversity, in terms of championing women's rights, and a number of other aspects which we'll talk about. But let's talk about the early life for Abang Othow.
Yeah, my journey started in South Sudan. Well, actually it was Sudan. The country was not split at the time. And I had a very long and difficult refugee journey. So from the age of 5 till the age of 18, I was on the run from one country to another.
Due to the war in Sudan?
Due to the war, yeah. So I basically was separated from my mom from the age of 5 because we had to escape in a rush with my father in Sudan when I was only 5 years old. We escaped to Ethiopia, and the reason why we had to escape was because my father was facing an assassination attempt.
Okay.
So he was a university professor, and then he joined politics, and he was advocating for minority groups, and because of that he was actually targeted.
Okay.
So when we arrived in Ethiopia, my father had to then go to America to try to, advocate for
Get
people
support.
and to
Yep.
get to lobby for support.
Sure.
Unfortunately, while we were in Ethiopia, another war broke out. So the government was toppled, and then this time we had to escape back into Sudan.
Mm-hmm.
So we arrived in a place called Kopoita, which is a very stronghold of the rebels. And in Sudan, the government and the rebels both accused each other and committed unimaginable atrocities on their own people. So while I was in Kopoita, the brutalities of war came, and being bombed and just going through that, war was unimagineable.
Yeah.
Nobody should ever have to face that,
Sure.
especially not a child.
Yeah.
And I remember that journey as well was made very difficult because I had malaria.
Okay.
And the reason why I was actually separated initially from my mom was because my mom brought me to the city where my father was, and with the idea that mom will come back with my siblings to join us, because my dad was just appointed in the capital city. So I did not know that would be the last time I would actually see my mother right through my childhood. So in Kopoita, we were basically attacked, but I knew that from that young age, I knew that I had to create a way to cope. So I developed this strategy of putting my emotions in these imaginary boxes that I had created. And so it helped me deal with my current situation so that I can be able to deal with what I was facing. And so that's how I was able to survive that time.
So then the exit from, you were Ethiopia at that point?
So we basically escaped from Sudan into Ethiopia, and then from Ethiopia back into Sudan, a different section of Sudan. And then my father came looking for me because at this point I didn't have both of my parents, and I was going through war, trauma, a lot of violence around me, things that, it's very, very difficult. I'm now beginning to write my memoir.
Yes.
And as I'm writing things, I cannot even begin to imagine how I actually went through that period.
Yeah.
But I think we as human beings, we have this strong resilience in us and tenacity to want to actually...
Well, certainly some of us do, and you're one of them, right?
Thank you.
Good God, yeah.
And so when my father came and rescued me, this time we came to Kenya. And of course you are familiar with Kenya.
It's our connection.
Yeah, that's right. So I arrived in Kenya as a 10-year-old, and Kim, it's quite incredible because I had missed all these years of schooling because we were escaping from one country to another and no time for education. And so when I arrived in Kenya, I just thought to myself, this is incredible. My life will definitely now become normal.
Flourish.
So normality would take shape. So I was enrolled in school. I put my hand up for everything. I took the opportunity to basically accept leadership. I was in athletics. I put my hands up for scouting, and I basically, say to the school and to my teachers, please give me the opportunity because I will take everything that I'm given, because I never had this opportunity. And so I worked very hard. And
then you ended up, what was the journey to Australia?
Yeah, so basically, unfortunately, my father went back to Sudan and he did not make it.
Okay.
I lost my father. He was assassinated without trial. And so I ended up becoming homeless in Kenya. Two of my aunties briefly took me in, and then I ended up in Kakuma refugee camp.
Kakuma.
And then from Kakuma refugee camp, I was given the opportunity to come to Australia as a refugee. And I arrived in Australia as an 18-year-old with big hopes and dreams. And I embarked on another different journey, which was completely different for me. I had never imagined that I would be approached to become a model. I did modeling for a few years.
You did?
And that's how we met.
We did.
During my time as a model and also as an advocate, ambassador for Oasis Africa and Red Cross.
Absolutely.
And so that journey took me to meet very incredible people, and one of them is you, Kim. So after all this time, I knew that I had more to give, and I wanted to embark on the journey of education.
So let's just stop that frame there, because before you started on that journey, we met at an event for another organisation. I was in the formation of Oasis Africa with some other folks, and we formed Oasis Africa as a registered charity here to support kids that we come across in Kenya, in Kibera slum, which you're familiar with.
Yes, I'm
one of the big transit
Kibera
points on the journey of refugees, for many refugees to the west from Africa. And I approached you at another event and said, listen, we're holding an event, we want to put on a modelling show, demonstrate African culture and African clothing, and we had a number of Kenyans who were involved, and you just immediately said yes. You said, yes, I'm in, yes, I'm coming, and yes, I will bring all of these people with me. And you did. Yes. And that's how we formed. And nearly 17 years later, 8,200 children we've educated, freedom from poverty through education. And we have the video, which we've attached below, of you modelling at that very first event in 2005.
Wow, you still have the video.
We have the video, and you were one of the top models in Australia at the time. And all I remember at that time was you were so giving of your time. And when I understood your background, I could see why. Because you wanted to give back and help others to go through that hadn't needed to go through what you've been through.
Yeah,
but then the education story started.
Yeah, that's true. I knew that I needed to give back, especially in the area of shaping young people's minds.
Yeah.
You know, and I knew the only way I could do that is through education. As a model, I can be able to advocate. I can use my own personal journey, but I needed a little bit more in order to to inspire young people. And so I embarked on that journey of higher
education. And to catch up on the fact that you'd missed out on 10 years worth of education. And the escalation was incredible. Because you formed a double degree capability, you became a teacher, you're a teacher now at, and I hope you don't mind me saying this, but one of the toughest schools in Australia.
I'm a teacher in one. My teaching journey has been quite incredible. I have taught in remote Queensland. I have taught in New South Wales. I've been teaching for 10 years now in different schools in Western Sydney and Southwestern Sydney.
Yes.
Some very tough schools.
Yeah. And off camera, we've spoken about some of the things that are going on in Sydney right now. We can't talk about those on camera. But I'm just blown away how you have managed your way through that situation in an extremely culturally diverse, religious diverse environment, which is a bedrock of some of the challenges that New South Wales faces right now.
I'm very happy to say that I've worked with very diverse groups from all sectors of communities.
Yeah.
I have worked with people from refugee backgrounds, and indigenous people. I have worked with diverse religious groups, and it's quite incredible because everyone has something that they give. But yes, we have to adapt into our environment and understanding the context in which our students.
And you have been recognised as a community leader here. You have been acknowledged and inducted as an ambassador. Tell us a little bit about your role as an ambassador.
Yeah, so I've been very humbled to be elected this year as an ambassador for Refugee Council of Australia, and also by the New South Wales Department of Education as the national ambassador. So I take that role quite serious. I advocate in the refugee space, and particularly for minority groups who are not recognized. And I am so happy to be a voice and to be an inspiration, so that hopefully they will be able to see that education is a transformative journey, and that they can use the voice that they're given in Australia and the opportunities to not only improve their own goals, but also to help other people.
And I think it was you said to me at the time, 17 years ago, when you came to contribute to us and model and put on the performance and help bringing other cultural groups into our first Oasis Africa event, that the freedom from poverty through education was what attracted you to support us. And what I can say is that 8,000 plus children later was born from people like you, inspirational people like you, right from the word go, who've been there, done it, seen it, and helped us develop that organisation. So I can't thank you enough for that.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. I'm really happy to help in any way I can, because I know that education shapes, young people. And I've actually started a project in Africa, and it's called Bringing the Teachers Home. The project is quite remarkable because, you know, it is this idea of getting teachers from the cities to go back to the villages to actually educate young people, children who would otherwise not have the opportunity. And, you know, last year I started with 5 teachers that I had sponsored to go back. And we had an enrollment of 1,000 students, and half of them were girls. I'm so proud of that. And this year, I'm hoping that number of teachers will increase to 20. And it is something that can be transferred to other remote areas. So at the moment, this is in a remote village in South Sudan.
Okay.
And so I'm happy and delighted to tell you more about that as well. But that's something that I'm quite passionate about. And I'm also embarking on a research project to help, you know, refugees and remote communities access education opportunities.
And why does not any of this surprise me? Because you have had, from the age of 18, when I first met you, you had this absolute dynamo inside you, and I could just see that you were going to be somebody who would grasp all the opportunity you'd had, because you'd been so deprived of many opportunities, and it's just an absolute blessing to see what you've done. We thank you so much. We thank you for the work you're doing. You and I have talked about a couple of projects off camera, which we're going to be more than, you know, happy to be involved in. You deserve all of the, you know, credit that you get and receive from the community, and I know where it's coming from.
It's from the heart.
It's coming right here.
Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity, and I'm so happy that I was able to come tonight and share.
From a long way away. Look, Abang Othow, entrepreneur, woman in leadership in so many different ways. Thank you so much, and thanks for joining us on Logistics Executive TV tonight.